You know what week it is? It's Raul Rosas Jr.'s fight week. The man who was born in 2004 was in the UFC before he even graduated high school, the youngest fighter the UFC has ever signed, and it is finally time to break down his career this far. Like and subscribe. As stated in the beginning, Raul was born October 8th, 2004. He stands at 5'9" and trains out of a very famous gym, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. A 14-year-old Raul made his amateur debut, by far the youngest fighter I have seen in the amateur scene. He had 4 fights in one night in the Youth MMA World Championships promotion. He won all 4 fights, submitting 2 opponents and beat the other 2 by decision. In January of 2020, a 15-year-old Raul would have another amateur fight, this time sinking in another submission and getting the win just 2 minutes into the very first round. Raul would wait over a year to have another amateur fight, eventually fighting again in April of 2021, beating his opponent by submission once again, just 1 minute into the first round. Raul was already looking like he was UFC bound before exiting the amateur scene, so a young and motivated Raul would make his professional debut just a month after his 16th birthday, and in November of 2021, he would make his long-awaited debut, fighting Eduardo Velasquez. Raul would come out like a Tasmanian devil, taking his opponent down, snatching his back, and getting in the rear naked choke just 1 minute and 1 second into the fight. After his fiery debut, he would fight again a few months later in March of 2022. At just 17 years old, his opponent would be Joel Pena. This would be just another walk in the park for the young fighter, as he would sink in another perfect armbar submission just 54 seconds into the first round. After back-to-back 1-minute finishes, he would go into his next fight with a ton of confidence. Fighting again just 1 month later, on April 29th, 2022, Raul would fight Francisco Villanueva. This would be yet another walk in the park for the young prodigy, because he would sink in another armbar just 2 minutes into the first round. With 3 wins in a row, Raul would waste no time in fighting again, and in May of that same year, Raul would fight Jose Penaloza. This wouldn't be another first round finish, but he would still get the rear naked choke in the second round. Raul would fight again just 3 weeks later, in June of 2022. He would face off with Andreas Pineda, and this fight would go just as smoothly as his previous fights, getting the TKO just 2 minutes into the first round. After getting 5 wins in less than 1 year, he would get the attention of the biggest promotion in the world, the UFC. But due to Raul being 17 years old, he would need to fight on Dana White's Contender Series to prove that he was as good as everyone was saying. And in September of 2022, Raul would do just that, this time fighting Mando Gutierrez. This was not a walk in the park for him, but it was still a very dominant and very impressive performance from Raul, with him winning by unanimous decision. Dana White usually doesn't sign fighters who go to decision. However, Raul showed him that he was still very dangerous and had a ton of potential. He was very dangerous and he had potential to become a star in no time. So Dana would sign the 17-year-old, and the second he did, people knew to keep an eye on this fighter because he truly had potential to become a champion if he played his cards right and kept up the grind. And in December of 2022, Raul would make his heavily anticipated UFC debut, with his opponent being Jay Perrin, and in classic Raul fashion, he would steamroll his opponent by base cranking the daylights out of Perrin and forcing the tap just 2 minutes into the first round. This would make waves in the MMA scene, with people giving Raul a lot of props and a lot of credit and speculating if he would eventually become UFC champion, as well as fans joking around saying, imagine being a 30-year-old and getting smoked by a 17-year-old that was still in high school. After making his electrifying debut, Raul would slow his roll and focus on finishing high school and improving his craft, and in April of 2023, Raul would make his highly anticipated second showing in the UFC. This time his opponent would be Christian Rodriguez. This would be a very hard fight that tested Raul's cardio and chin, and this would be Raul's first and only loss, losing by unanimous decision. Some are quick to write off Raul as just another hyped up prospect who would get weeded out of the UFC sooner or later, while the majority of fans knew he was still very talented and was still very young to be at the level he is currently at, and still saw the potential that Raul possessed. Raul would travel around and train with more fighters, with Aljamain Sterling training with with Raul as well as Merab Dvalishvili. After learning how to not drain his gas tank and chase for the finish too much, he would make the walk once again in September of that same year. This time he would be fighting Terrence Mitchell. This would be one of the fastest finishes in his career. In just 54 seconds, he would get the TKO win. With the loss behind him and getting another fantastic finish in the UFC, he would be in the spotlight once again. And Raul would get a jump up in competition, this time fighting another up and coming fighter with a good amount of height, Ricky Turcios. Fans were excited for this matchup because both fighters have a fast pace and finish most of their fights. And in June of 2024, the fight would happen. Once the ref said fight, it was clear as day which fighter was better. Raul put on a relentless pace and was dominating Ricky throughout the first round. And in the second round, Raul finally get the rear naked choke finish and impressed the fans. Not only did he show a ton of improvement since his loss, he seemingly filled his frame and looked stronger. And that brings us to this weekend. Raul is fighting Hilang Aori at the Las Vegas Sphere on the UFC Noche card. This is a huge opportunity for Raul to get his name out there even farther. Raul currently has a record of 9 wins and 1 loss, with 2 knockout wins, 6 submission wins, and 1 decision win, with his only loss being by decision. He is currently only 19 years old. His whole career ahead of him. Now, Raul's opponent is not a new fighter by any means. Aori has 25 wins and 11 losses, meaning he has a lot more experience than Raul. Aori also has a 64% decision rate when he wins, and he has been finished 4 times. So with that being said, I think Raul will put on a relentless pace and get the submission in either the first or the second round. However, Aori's experience might give Raul issues if he chases the finish too much, but if he comes in calm and collected and focuses on getting the fight to the ground, he will have an easy path to victory. If you watched the video this far, be sure to like and subscribe, as it is the only way to support the channel. I hope you guys have a great week and enjoy the fights on Saturday. Bye.